Hey, all you mudslinging pyromaniacs out there, this is Chuck one more time for you at the Old School Pottery Wheel. We're going to be talking about making bowls today. Bowls are probably the most frequently made thing on a pottery wheel, plus they're probably the oldest. Mankind was making pottery into bowls, back in the Egyptian times and even before that. It's one of the first things that they find at archaeological sites is remnants of pottery bowls. So let's see how you do with a bowl. I'm going to show you some tricks and some shortcuts that I've learned. And then we're going to do some angles and some different style bowls just to show you all the fun that you can have with making stuff with your own hands in the mud. Once again, this is Chuck for Old School Pottery.
Wedge the clay, turn the wheel, fire the kiln, keep it real. Old school pottery, old school pottery. Seize the day, get the feel, throw the clay, keep it real. Old school pottery, old school pottery, old school pottery, old school pottery.
Hey, you mudslinging pyros, just wanted to point out a couple of quick things real fast before we start the episode. BenJohnstonMedia.com did that fabulous new introduction. That's his music that he composed. My brother Ben at BenJohnstonMedia.com. Check out his album anywhere at all. And then our good friend Dave Nachmanoff, legendary guitarist. He played the guitar part on that. He has an upcoming live performance on August 27th. Be sure to check out that at this link and in the show notes so that you can be a part of this. We love that you're watching. Please share it with your friends, like our Facebook page, and we'll see you next time on Old School Pottery. Okay, so let's start out for our bowl making with like a pound to a pound and a half of clay. The reason that you need to measure whenever you're throwing something is really important, and that is if you want to make another item just like it, you need to know how much clay you started with. So I like to do a pound to pound and a half because that's a good medium-sized bowl. So let's say you want to make a bowl that fits inside of another bowl. If you know how much you started with, then you can subtract just an ounce or two and you'll have the right amount to make that bowl fit inside of another one. All right, spin it up, clean it up, and throw it down. Here we go. That's the mudslinging we like to see. So from here, all you have to do is wedge it like you would normally wedge any kind of cylinder that you're going to make. Everything starts out as a cylinder. And we're coning it, and you see that center. I can actually point to the top here, and you see the little swirly. That always gives you the good indication that you have the center of your clay. Put a little moisture back in it here, and smush her back down, flatten it out, and then make the cone one more time. I always use the heel of one of my palms to push down on it, because that heel will cup the inside of that cone. When you bring your cone back up and you see that little circular spiral right here at the top, you know you're centered. There's just no other way around it. If you see that perfect spiral at the tip, you know that's the center of your wheel and the center of the clay. So push her back down one more time. Make that mound, and then we're going to flatten it out. Now it's time to flatten that dome with a good karate chop. Using the knife hand here, it's kind of important to flatten out the top of that dome so you have a good clean surface and you can start dipping in the middle. I like to use the middle finger and always add moisture here because you're getting into the middle of the clay and it's pretty dry in there. So once you get your middle finger situated, you can push to the side a little bit and you see we're making an inside cone now. Pressing at an angle gives you that cone shape on the inside, and add a little water, and then you can always pull out to the sides if you want your base wider. You don't want it too wide because you don't have a whole lot of height to go for a bowl. They're pretty shallow in compared to a normal cylinder. But again, everything starts as a cylinder. And this is where we're going to play hooky. You should never play hooky from Old School Pottery. When you play hooky here, you're just bringing that out a little bit towards you, so you hook your middle finger in and you stretch it to the width of the wall that you want. You can always use a needle tool to check the bottom and see how far you are, because you're going to press that clay down. Use the sponge to compress the bottom again while you're down in there, and get your finger to hook back and pull it out just enough so that you like the width of that base of your bowl. And then from there, we can start making our walls and bring it up like a regular cylinder. So now we're going to pull the first wall, and it's just like a cup or any other cylinder pull. You start with one hand on the inside, one on the outside. I like to use a couple of fingers as opposed to a knuckle pull for this case. And, we can talk about the benefits of that later, but bringing up these walls on an even and slow basis will ensure that your bowl has nice, thick enough walls without being too thin to be fragile. Once you get to the top and you've made sure that you've got a consistent pull all the way through, and you can see the thickness of your walls, you're just about done. You may want to do another pull to level things off and kind of clean things up a little bit. Using your knuckle, you can actually feel the width of the wall a little better than you can with your finger. I know that doesn't sound right, but using your knuckle gives one finger the pressure against a harder area on the outside. And I like to pull up with this, the last final pull, and really look at that cylinder. I know what you're thinking. You pulled straight up all the way, and now you're feeling like it flared out at the top. Why is that? Everything wants to be a bowl. With centrifugal force and the speed of the wheel, it's actually pushing the mass of the top of that clay piece out at the edges. That's right, more math. All you have to do is take your knife tool now and clean up the bottom edge of this cylinder. We're going to use the force for good, and we're going to pull the top edge out. You really want to make sure that your hands are moist for this, so that when you get inside the edge there with your left hand, kind of with your thumb hanging over, you're going to start pulling on the outside. I like to get the wooden rib tool at this point to kind of guide me, and if you point the tip down, it works a whole lot easier. This gives you kind of an angle to aim for, and just making sure that you keep pulling at that edge just gently enough to shape it. And don't forget to take a little bit of that moisture out of the bottom of the bowl. It always collects in there, and you want it dry before you wire it off. So you might recognize this tool. This is an angle finder that you would find at a hardware store or Home Depot, Lowe's. I use it because I like bowls that have the same kind of depth and angle. If you're making a stackable bowl or a noodle bowl that has a slanted edge like this, you can easily transfer that to another bowl knowing what the angle is. So you just got to set it up right and make sure you get your measurements. So I like to use a chamois here to clean up the edges of the bowl, and you see just makes perfect, nice little smooth rounded area. Sometimes you want to compress that a little more with your finger, but when you're using a chamois, it's super soft. You can feel it. You get your angles right using the wooden rib tool again here. And you see my finger's on the inside of the bowl still, and it does leave some marks. That's all right. We're going to take care of those too. And the edge is always, always so important. If you're not sipping out of a cup that has a nice edge, or putting a bowl together that has a smooth line like that, you'll see it. It makes a huge difference. So use your chamois, compress your rims, and make sure you're cleaning that up. Even go back into the middle of the bowl here, and kind of take that little swirly, make some fun little design if you like this here, and just pull that out to from the center all the way out, and you'll see it's kind of a cool effect. Make it your own. This is where you get to play with some style in making your own bowl. I'll leave this right here for now.
School.